But first we're going to look at what our objective is for Charlie. So I'm going to be on mountain Charlie. Head is here, your body's here. Remember last week who was here last week? Everyone was here last week, weren't they? We were looking at certain techniques we can do from the mount. One of the main aims I wanted people to understand is the head capture. It's all very well having access to all sorts of things, but with his head, neck and upper shoulders freely available to move, it's very hard to finish those techniques off. So what I was encouraging people to do is to just move up a little bit and capture the head. Okay, when you capture the head, you are able to then apply pressure to the jaw line and crucially his neck vertebrae and his upper vertebrae here. When his head is shifted along here, it's much harder to hold position here, which allows you to attack here. I'm going to come back to that, but first let's practice our arm bars. And this is a technique that I guess you show beginners on their first day of Jiu-Jitsu, and then thereafter nobody ever does this technique, this version, because Jiu-Jitsu person arm barring a Jiu-Jitsu person, nobody would ever put their hand on their chest like that, or they shouldn't at least. So you guys remember, when you spar, never put your hands out like this, for this specific reason that you would do an arm bar. It's basically saying, please arm bar me. But it's a handy drill to learn, and I'm going to show it to you, and we're all going to do it, because it teaches you about placing your balance centrally, and how to pivot your body to attack the arm. Remember, this is a basic class, it's a fundamentals class, we have to start as if nobody knows how to do technique. So we're going to choose an arm. I'm going to choose this arm. So one hand goes on the chest, one hand goes on the outside, puts my hand on top of my other hand. This gives me, and so your partner's going to have to bear a bunch of your weight a bit, onto both feet. This is only a temporary position. I'm going to spin round here. Everything is balanced over on top of Charlie. Okay, now I've trapped the arm. I'm going to trap my arm with this hand here, hugging it closely. Now if I just fall back, it's not good technique to fall back just like this. You need to fall back with control. So do the whole thing again. He does the, oh, get off me, pushing my chest. Hand on the chest, hand over the arm. The arm that you're going to attack is the one that you go over. I elevate myself, I spin round, I capture the arm. Notice what I do with my foot as well. Remember that S-mount drill that we did earlier? I'm just pointing the feet towards his head. I go step over his head. Then this arm is free. It serves no purpose on him. I need it to stabilize. Put it on the ground. Squeeze my knees together. Everything's under control. Falling to the ground at my own speed. I must make sure the fulcrum, which is my hip line, is just above his elbow line. Reach up, grab his wrist, make sure the thumb is pointing up. I meet my chest to his wrist. Meet. Don't try and pull down because it doesn't affect it. It's not as effective. I meet it, elbows together, and I pull down, and the hips go up. There's a lot in there. If you can get past this stage, then we can move on to S-mount armbar attacks, which I regard as a fairly fundamental technique, but people fluff up the armbar, so we have to go back to armbar basics, okay? So, nice drill. Your partner is willingly going to give you the stiff arm here, one arm underneath, one over the top. Lift yourself up off the ground, step over. Notice the way I'm facing. I'm facing perpendicular to the way that he's going. Step over, trap the arm. Free arm now, hand on the floor, knees together. Slowly, I'm on the floor. Now I'm just aligning myself. I'm not quite horizontal. I'm slightly narrowing his legs down and his head. Don't worry about that for now. For now, make sure you have the arm trapped, so there's no way he can either grab his own arm or he can bend his arm. Both hands now on the wrist. Meet my chest to his wrist. And we pull down, and my hip goes up at the same time, and you get pressure on the elbow here where his arm doesn't want to overstraighten. Quite a lot of information there if you've never done this before. I'm happy to show this again if you need to see again. I'll also oversee your group if you're new to this, okay? So once again, Charlie, sorry. I'm sure that you know this technique, right? Little tip for you, don't do this technique when you're starting way down here, about the belt line. Because what will happen is you'll do this. Okay? This technique is best done when you have travelled up a bit past his belt line. Take the weight, swoop around, tap the arm, step over, balance, squeeze the knees. Now I grab his wrist, 2 hands on the wrist, thumb is pointing up, my chest to his wrist, and my hip goes up. Okay, and then we'll see how we do with that. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. For some of you, it's an introduction to arm bars. For many of you, it's a well-practiced technique, or at least you should be. All right, but there's always things we can pick up and fine-tune and learn. Now, for a long time, I always thought the arm bar was a simple hinging action. In that, if you straighten your arm and it overstraightens, it hurts, right? You're hyperextending the elbow. But then I asked, well, if that's the case, how comes when you teach the arm bar, everyone says the thumb points up? See what happens? Imagine this is the fulcrum. If you're hyperextending the elbow, all you need to do is do that. And then why don't the instructor say palm up, palm up? Does anyone know why? This would be a better way to teach the arm bar than this. Anyone give a suggestion? No?
Is there slightly more flexibility than that?
Is it about strength?
Strength comes into it, yes. If you were to do a bicep curl, you would hold it like this, right? You don't. Well, you can do hammer curls.
But you're a lot lighter than hammer
this
curls.
is a stronger action. So if you were defending, okay, and the person is pushing, and you're doing this, and eventually you get there, the guy could potentially still bust his way out. Twisting, you look at the way your bones, the radius and the ulnar bone, they're twisting, and any kind of twisting action weakens the structure of what your muscles. So it's very hard to defend an arm bar like this. And I want you to try this, okay? Charlie's going to be my guinea pig. Just head here, body here. So we're going to do. Now we're going to start from here this time. We've done all the shenanigans of hopping around. And, maybe our focus was too much on that for the last. Here's another tip. If you want to control the other arm, just hook it underneath like this here. All right. So it's like a closed guard. Don't worry about it for now. So, two things. We're worried about the twisting of the arm. And the other thing I want to point out is where the fulcrum is. I already mentioned it to some of you. Let's assume that we have to learn that the thumb goes up. Alright? So we're here and we're placing it on the fulcrum. Now, I don't know what you guys are using, but if I go straight down the middle, I'm basically squashing my nuts. And it's deeply unpleasant if it's a cold day and blah, blah, blah. So I find a different fulcrum point. So we're just going to, Charlie, just bend your arm.
Yep.
Good. Now, see his elbow's right here. Where is his elbow actually pointing? There. Not here, there. So what is the natural part of my body that would be in the way? It would be that kind of that valley here, right, just underneath my hip bone here. So if I am going directly down, I'm actually not affecting his elbow. I'm going to go slightly across, and then when I raise my hip up, yes, that works, but why don't I raise my hip up and twist a little bit to really get into that angle? Alright, so fulcrum placement is important. The second thing is, yes, let's go back to that idea of where I think, oh, I've just got to straighten the arm. So try to resist. It's quite strong, and we're going to twist it here. Resist. I found that a little easier to do. I don't know how you felt in terms of defending the strength.
Yeah, well, I was already quite extended. If it was here, I probably.
It's just the theory I have. I think people are stronger defending that way than they are when you twist it like that, trying to defend that way. Plus, it twists the bones up and creates more pain. And ultimately, you want a submission, right? And you want them to tap. Okay, so your drill is you're going to start in this position, arm between your legs, right? Squeezing the knees together. By the way, squeezing the knees is an important part of it. If you squeeze your knees correctly, ask your opponent just to remove their arm. Maybe just shrimp out. It should be fairly robust. Okay? Anyway, we're going to first work on the fulcrum. Try it down the middle if you want. It's not quite working. Try it slightly across on the valley there. And then hip up and angle it slightly and you'll get a better reaction. And finally, try it where he's palm up and as if he's doing a bicep curl. And twist it. And just find it a little bit easier. Okay? Yep. You're going to see that, right? Yeah. So just for a minute or so, shall we do it? 1, 2, 3. How do we get to the arm bar? It just has a very narrow field of view.
Right. Let's see.
My camera behind. So I think I'm in shot.
Now you're in shot.
Cool. So how do we get to this place? Clearly, as I've already discussed, he's not going to just put his arms on and give me the armbar. He's usually going to defend, keeping his elbows tight and protecting his neck, because he doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't know whether I'm attacking the arm or going for a collar. So my aim is to get a little bit higher, as I already discussed. If I try an armbar from down here, it's bound to fail because the point of action is down here rather than over here. So I need to get a little bit higher up. And this is where claiming the head comes in. It's very hard to defend the head. If you've got mount, if you're good enough to get mount, then you're good enough to at least capture the head. And I recommend going underneath, okay, and using your shoulders to bend his head. See what happens to this elbow when you do this. It gives you a little gap here. Sometimes it's quite a big gap, sometimes it's a little bit, but it's harder to defend this side. Okay? Now from here, you can go, bring him towards you, bring that foot in. Now look at where we are. Even if I let go now, we're in what we call the S mount. My legs are in an S position, I'm higher up, and I'm gravitating myself around so I can attack this arm. The second hard part of it is fishing for the arm. But because look at the way his arms are kind of orientated, usually there's a little bit of a fight, you're going to get the arm. It doesn't matter which arm you use. Personally, I tend to go, let me see. Yeah, I tend to go for the arm that's nearest his legs is the one that I shoot through first. For some reason, it just works for me better. But I have seen people attack like this. Find your own way, all right? Now, with your own spare arm, you need to find a way to help your body twist around and attack his arm. So what I recommend you do is use your thumb, step out. Look, I'm balanced because of this arm here. Now, sit back. Now I use the power of both my arms to fish for his wrist, push back, find that little angle that I want, what's the fulcrum that I want, raise, hip raise, slight twist, and I've got what I want. It shouldn't be too much different from the first drill we did, apart from the setup. So the partner will lie down and just do this. Okay, it's a little bit more realistic. I capture the head. Underneath, shove my shoulder in, which weakens this side of his body. This allows me to walk up. And once you feel your left leg is high enough, ideally under his armpit, use your spare hand to roll him towards you to fit your other leg underneath his arm. It has to be underneath his shoulder. It cannot be out here. You're doomed to failure if you do that. It has to be under his shoulder here. Good. So now we're here. We start fishing for the arm. Over. We'll talk about, if there's time later on, what if he grips onto his arm. But for now, let's assume that he's clueless about how to defend, and we're just going to grab at the wrist, and then we can finish off that technique. Anybody see that again? One more time? I've got some of this stuff here. It's mainly the setup. Okay, the armbar we practice. So I'm fairly low down, I want to go higher up. Probably the easiest way, or the most straightforward way, is to catch the head. Lift his head up, I go underneath, which gives me a route to start bending his head. The way I bend his head is I invade with my bicep or shoulder and really cause his head to go like that, which weakens this side. When this side is weakened, I can progress up higher. Bring his body towards you, underneath his shoulder. This is a good time to start capturing the arm. Use the hand to base off the ground, step over his head. Everything is tight. I want to fish for his wrist, which allows me to get control of his arm. And then we're moving downwards, everything under control. Remember what I talked about, where the thumb is pointing, where his fulcrum is, where your elbow is, and where his... Okay, give it a go. 3, 2, 1.